Throughout the first 3 Metroid games, there are bits and pieces of subtle storytelling communicated to the player visually and minimalistically. Samus is a bounty hunter delegated by the Galactic Federation to do their dirty deeds. In the first game, she mercilessly kills the space pirates until Super Metroid. In the second game, she is enlisted to essentially genocide an entire species of alien life form deemed too threatening. Not only is this a messed up thing if you take a step back and go, but at the end of the game we are introduced to a baby Metroid who shows no sign of harmful conduct. In fact, helping Samus by clearing the path to her ship for her and just being downright adorable. This in particular really gets the player going, Then Super Metroid comes around where the baby comes and saves Samus at the end despite the initial encounter where it is protecting itself due to being harmed by the space pirates. The baby's sacrifice really hammers in this sort of brutal irony. Samus is ultimately saved by a member of the species she's basically single-handedly responsible for wiping out. So this kind of begs the question, hey, are we going to address this very large genocidal elephant in the room? And Metroid Fusion answers, sure. Metroid Fusion uses its structure, gameplay, atmosphere, and presentation with little bits of dialogue to explore Samus as a character and her humanity and autonomy. Fusion tackles the consequences of Samus's actions from the previous games. It introduces a species called the X-Virus, who happen to be very, very dangerous, and it so happens that their only natural predator were the Metroids. So when Samus runs into them, they go, gotcha bitch! Because of this, Samus gets totally messed up and infused with the Metroid DNA, which is the only cure she could find for the virus, adding further to the irony of the Metroids being the one to save Samus further. The consequence of the X-Virus spreading continually snowballs, with the X-Virus taking over the space station, and the virus using Samus's DNA to completely replicate her armor and physical capabilities from how she was in the previous games. But Samus herself has been stripped down of these capabilities and is basically useless against this walking embodiment of her past murder tendencies chasing her down, adding even further to the irony of Metroid Fusion, where Samus has now become the prey of the SAX. The tension that SAX is able to create is genius because we are able to imagine that, hey, this must be what those guys felt. Amidst all of this, Samus is being kept on a leash by the Galactic Federation, taking away her autonomy and having a computer advise her every step of the way, adding more and more to shove Samus's automaton nature in her and the player's face. This added to the aspect of Samus basically being part Metroid makes it feel like Samus is being treated like a creature that needs to be put on a leash. As Samus is at the mercy of this AI, she laments in her head at the computer doing the whole, AIs know nothing about the human condition, oh my god. And that's the thing about Metroid Fusion, everything about it is artificial, from the artificially created environments of SR-388 to the AI of Adam dictating your move. So it begs the question, what is Samus? Is she just kind of technically a robot for the Galactic Federation that can just act on any order? Or is she someone that can take action based on her own moral judgments? The game's progression takes a more linear focus compared to the previous Metroid entries. And this is done to serve this narrative aspect of Samus's personal autonomy. At first, you are pretty much going to go from point A to point B according to Adam, and you'll be easily given a map to show you where to go, but there's a nice little trick the game does with this, where it eases you into the comfort of the map, and more straightforward progression that Adam has laid out for you. Only for the first encounter of the SAX, forcing you to just go off map. removing the comfort of autonomy and throwing you in unknown territory with a killing machine on the loose. Metroid Fusion's atmosphere has a slight twinge of just something being off, which builds and builds as Samus and the player go off map, regaining bits of autonomy as Samus goes off map and finds the upgrade that the Galactic Federation and Adam didn't approve of. This all builds up and culminates when Samus discovers the conspiracy of the space station artificially producing Metroids for the Galactic Federation's own games. This leads to a sequence where the SAX is murdering the Metroids and all Samus can do is away as you watch the species you now share blood with now get butchered. Both of them being fellow prey now. It's a great piece of storytelling that is just communicated simply through presentation. Right after this, Samus has a confrontation with the AI who has been keeping her on a leash. In this moment, Samus finally speaks up and decides to act against the wishes of the Galactic Federation and do away with the entire space system. The AI initially pushes back, but Samus calls the machine Adam for the first time and changes the course of the conversation. This act of sentimentality, naming this AI her former superior. Samus has reached out to Adam's AI and he decides to cooperate with Samus. This is a wonderful sequence, as it's the result of two government puppets being able to make a decision for themselves to do what they think is right. Samus herself is shocked, brilliantly conveyed in a minimalist way by just a few frames of animation and a close-up. One other tiny detail that I think adds a ton to the narrative of the game is how Samus accesses power. Instead of achieving it from the little Chozo ball thingies, Samus pulls a Mega Man and absorbs techniques that the enemy used in their fight into herself. Samus then confronts the walking metaphor of her past self, using the techniques you've regained by embracing the enemies you come across in a dope-ass boss fight that I may have died to too many times on before realizing the pattern was pretty simple. Then in the final fight against the Omega Metroid, the SAX you just defeated comes in to fight off the Metroid, its biggest enemy, and tries to finish it off to no avail. Where then Samus then combines with and regains herself, her former color scheme and powers to defeat this one last Metroid. This is a bit more open to interpretation, but this almost feels like a bittersweet reclamation of herself, Metroid killer and all. At the very end, when the ship comes back to save her before the spaceship goes kablooey, Adam tells her that he used the creatures she saved in the space station to help come back and save her, which I think is a very important note to leave the game on because it reminds us of a key aspect to Samus's character that has been there. The single act of mercy Samus gave to the Metroids is essentially the only reason she is still alive and kicking. And in the end, Samus was helped by the creatures she helped on the space station. Behind what can be interpreted as ruthlessness, there's a kindness to Samus that ends up getting repaid to her. These acts of karma from the baby Metroid and the harmless critters are probably why she does what she does. When she makes the decision to blow up the space station, is so she can ultimately stop the X-Virus from festering and harming others throughout the galaxy, including the jackass Galactic Federation peeps coming to try and contain it. I think it's important to make the distinction that Samus is most likely not an emotionless killer, but someone who has to do what she does in order to protect people. When she reclaims herself from the SAX at the end, it is a reminder that she's going to have to do what she does, but it's all for the last image we're shown in the game. A bunch of kind, harmless creatures bundle up together, resting peacefully.